Philadelphia News, team of my heart.
Sixers fans, you didn't see this coming. After a brutal season collapse, the Sixers are facing massive trade decisions, and it's not just about Joel Embiid or Paul George. Sixers news is heating up, and key veterans like Eric Gordon and Andre Drummond are on the chopping block. What happens next? Trade talks are swirling, and the Sixers' future is on the line. Stay locked in because big changes could be coming. The Sixers were supposed to be contenders. Instead, you're watching a team that might not even crack the play-in tournament. That's unacceptable. That's not what this season was meant to be. And when a team falls apart like this, change is coming. It always does. You've seen it before: big expectations, bigger disappointments, and then the Sixers news explodes with trade rumors. But here's the twist. The biggest moves might not involve Joel Embiid or Paul George right now. Whispers are getting louder, and the focus has shifted to two names you didn't expect: Eric Gordon and Andre Drummond. Yeah, you heard that right. Not the franchise players, but to key veterans who were supposed to strengthen this roster. Instead, they might be the first ones out the door. And when you break it all down, it makes sense. Let's start with Gordon. When the Sixers brought him in, the idea was clear: instant defense, a reliable shooter, a veteran presence for deep playoff runs. But what did you actually get? A slow start, shaky shooting, and then a brutal wrist injury that ended his season early. The numbers don't lie: just 7 points per game on 41% from deep. That's not bad, but it's not what this team needed. And now he's on an expiring deal, injured, and suddenly looking like an easy contract to move. Then there's Drummond. When he signed, you thought he'd be the perfect backup to Embiid, a strong, experienced big who could hold things down for 12 to 15 minutes a night. Instead, he ended up starting more than half the games he played because Embiid's knee issues just wouldn't go away. And while Drummond had moments, he wasn't the solution the Sixers needed. Now, with his player option looming, the Sixers are staring at a decision: do you run it back with a flawed supporting cast? Or do you shake things up before it's too late? And that brings us to the Sixers' bigger problem: cap space. The luxury tax is creeping up, and the team is boxed in with financial limitations. Keeping this year's first-round pick, that's not a lock. Kelly Oubre Jr., he'll want more money, and the Sixers have to decide whether to prioritize short-term flexibility or keep a core. That simply didn't work. Of course, when you hear Sixers news and trade, your mind jumps straight to the stars. What about Embiid? Could he actually force his way out right now? That's not happening unless he decides to make it happen. And what about Paul George? That contract is heavy. His injury history is a concern. And if the Sixers want to move on, it's going to cost them. So, here's the question: if the Sixers do make a move, is it enough? Is trading Gordon and Drummond just rearranging deck chairs on a sinking ship? Or is it the first step towards something bigger? You tell me. What should the Sixers do this offseason? Drop a comment below with your take. Sixers fans, brace yourself. The offseason hasn't even started, and the Sixers news is already packed with trade speculation. You wanted a championship. Run now. You're stuck wondering if this roster is even worth saving. Eric Gordon and Andre Drummond are prime trade targets, but could bigger moves be coming? Let's break it all down. You've seen this before: expectations sky high. But when the season falls apart, someone has to pay the price. This time, it might not be just a tweak to the roster. It could be a complete shift in direction. The Sixers are staring at a crossroads, and the front office knows it. Stick with the current core and hope for better health? Or hit reset and make the tough calls now before it's too late? The Sixers news cycle is already churning with trade scenarios, and Gordon and Drummond are just the beginning. Their contracts make them easy to move, but will that really fix anything? Gordon was supposed to be a steadying presence, a veteran scorer who could punish defenses from deep. Instead, you got inconsistency, a slow start, and then an injury that knocked him out for the season. That's not what you expected, and the front office knows it. Drummond's situation is even more complicated. You didn't sign him to start, but with Embiid's knee issues keeping him off the floor, Drummond was suddenly playing bigger minutes than anyone planned. And while he had his moments, it wasn't enough. The Sixers' defense struggled, the offense lost its identity, and suddenly, Drummond's presence wasn't a luxury, it was a necessity. That's a problem. Now, the Sixers are running out of time to make decisions. The luxury tax is looming, and financial flexibility is shrinking fast. Keep this roster together, and you're locking yourself into a core that might not have what it takes. Let Gordon and Drummond go, and you free up space, but for what? What's the actual plan? And then there's the real elephant in the room, Joel Embiid. You've heard the rumors. You've seen how this league works. Stars don't wait forever. If the Sixers don't prove they can build a contender around him, how much longer before Embiid starts looking elsewhere? That's a question nobody wants to answer, but you can't ignore it. Paul George's name is another one swirling around, and that's a whole different conversation. His contract is massive. His injuries are piling up. And while he's still an elite talent, is he the long-term answer? The Sixers pushed their chips in with him this season, and so far, the results have been frustrating. If you move on, you have to do it carefully, because one wrong trade could set the team back years. The draft situation makes everything even trickier. That first-round pick isn't guaranteed. If it falls outside the top 6, it's gone. That means the Sixers might not have the young talent infusion they need. That also means every move this summer has to be calculated, because missing on another trade could leave this team stranded in mediocrity. So now you're stuck in the same spot as the front office, asking the same question: what's next? The Sixers can't afford another wasted season, but the wrong trade could make things even worse. Is it time to run it back with minor tweaks? Or do you push for something bigger before it's too late? What do you think? Should the Sixers make a bold move this offseason? Or is there another way to fix this mess? Drop a comment with your thoughts. Sixers fans, this is it. The offseason is shaping up to be one of the most crucial in years. Sixers news is packed with trade talks. And the big question remains, will this team finally get it right? Eric Gordon and Andre Drummond could be on the move. But is that enough? Or do bigger changes need to happen? Let's break it all down. You know how this goes. The Sixers can't afford to sit back and hope things magically improve next season. You saw the collapse, the struggles, the wasted opportunities. And now, the front office has to decide, is this course still worth believing in? Because if it's not, the time to act is now. Eric Gordon and Andre Drummond are obvious trade candidates. Their contracts, their roles, their performances, it all makes sense. Moving them clears space, opens up flexibility, and maybe even brings back pieces that fit better. But here's the real question: does that actually change anything? Because let's be real, this team's issues go far beyond to bench players. The Sixers need a real plan. If you're moving Gordon and Drummond, what are you getting in return? Depth, future assets, a player who can actually impact winning. Right now, you can't just shuffle names around and hope for the best. Every move has to bring you closer to a title, not just clear salary off the books. And then there's the star situation. You already know what happens when teams don't make the right moves fast enough. Superstars get restless. Joel Embiid isn't going to wait forever. If the Sixers don't prove they can build a real contender, you know what comes next. And once that door opens, it's nearly impossible to close. Paul George is another name with questions swirling. You can't deny the talent, but the contract is massive, and the injuries aren't going away. If the Sixers decide to move him, it won't be easy. His value isn't what it once was. And if you make the wrong deal, you could set this team back years. But if you keep him, You better have a way to make it work because the Sixers can't afford another wasted season. The draft situation only adds more uncertainty. If that first-round pick falls outside the top 6, it's gone. Just like that. No young talent infusion. No chance to develop the next key piece. That means every trade, every free agency move, every decision has to be calculated. There's no room for mistakes. So, what's the right move? Do you focus on fixing the supporting cast? Do you make a bold trade to bring in another star? Or do you take the ultimate risk and shake up the entire foundation of this team? The Sixers can't afford to get this offseason wrong. Too much is on the line. What do you think? Should the Sixers play it safe or make a massive move? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you want to stay ahead of every major update, every trade rumor, and every crucial decision, make sure you subscribe and turn on the notification bell. This offseason is going to be wild. You won't want to miss a single second of Sixers news.